The Hell Is Us devs just released a demo for consoles, and after playing through it twice on the PS5, I'm a bit concerned because I wasn't expecting the gameplay to be this rough. But let me explain. First of all, I just want to say that the graphics are really nice and really clean, the performance seems very stable, the story and setting are quite intriguing, and the atmosphere is really good. But the first thing that hit me from the very first second of the game is the movement. There's just something very wrong with it. It feels very loose and janky and a bit too sensitive. Even the slightest micro movement on the left stick is registered by the game, which is really strange because judging from the past trailers I've seen, I thought the main character would feel a lot more weighty to control. Now, in all fairness, the movement feels a lot better when you're locked onto an enemy during combat, but when you're just running around the map, it's completely different. Don't get me wrong, you do get used to it after a while, but it could definitely use a bit of polish. The combat itself feels okay, but it's not incredibly satisfying. Hell Is Us is not a Souls-like, and it doesn't have bonfires with respawning enemies, an Estus flask, a Souls equivalent currency that enemies drop, or even a leveling system. But it does take a bit of inspiration from the genre for its combat mechanics. As such, we have stamina-based combat, dodging, blocking, and even a perfect block that deals posture damage to enemies, which eventually opens them up to a finishing move. The problem is that combat feels a bit janky, and the enemies are very hard to read at first because of their weird animations. But once you get used to it, the combat is actually not that bad, nor is it very difficult, even on the hardest difficulty mode. One thing I really dislike about the combat mechanics is that your stamina bar matches your health bar, so the more damage you take, the less stamina you have. I think it's a really poor idea, because when your health is low, you're not able to attack, dodge, or otherwise defend yourself. You can't exactly clutch a 5v1 on 10% health and make it out alive, because merely dodging once will exhaust you and leave you open to enemy attacks. But on the other hand, Hell Is Us uses a mechanic similar to the key pulse in Neo, with the difference being that in Hell Is Us, it heals a portion of your health. So if you're careful enough in combat, you can essentially end most fights with a full health bar. Another thing that's lacking is enemy variety. I know this is just the first hour of the game, but there's only 2 types of enemies in the demo that you fight over and over again. A few enemies can sometimes have a sort of anomaly tethered to them that you're gonna have to kill first before you can deal any damage to the actual enemy. But I mean, there's still the same 2 basic enemies. I don't know if this is going to be an issue in the full game, but most other demos I've played usually feature more than 2 enemies to fight in the first hour, so I'm a bit worried that this is going to be a bigger problem in the full release. Exploration is cool, but it's also advertised as this cryptic game that doesn't hold your hand or guide you with markers, which is cool and all, but in reality it doesn't really feel that different from the average Souls-like experience. It's like it has the same approach to exploration, with the difference being that in Hell Is Us, the game actually tells you that it has this approach to exploration, which makes it feel like a gateway drug to Souls-likes. It's almost as if this message isn't meant to tell you that the game is doing something new and different, but rather it's meant to ease newcomers into the existing Souls-like approach to exploration. But to be completely honest, the first area is a bit linear, and when you finally get to the second area that looks a lot more open, the demo ends. So that was kind of disappointing because 70% of the first area is just empty space, so the demo didn't really do a very good job at showcasing the game's deep and meaningful exploration. You do find a few puzzles and consumables scattered around, some which you can't even access, as I assume you're supposed to return to this area later in the game after you find the necessary key items. The puzzles are very easy and they don't stand out in any way, so this really makes me wonder, is this gonna be the general theme of the game? Easy puzzles? Because based on the demo, it doesn't really feel that different compared to other games I've played. It certainly doesn't feel like the game requires you to pay more attention to your surroundings than you do in any other game, or spend a lot of time solving its puzzles. So the full game's either gonna be a lot different, or it's just gonna be a copy-paste of the same stuff from the demo, same quality of puzzles, same basic exploration. And don't get me wrong, I really like the game and I don't think there's anything wrong with easy environmental puzzles and typical Souls-like exploration, but the way they're framing it as this different approach to questing and exploration comes across as pretentious, because it feels like they're doing the same things that other games are doing already, but acting like it's different. So I guess we'll have to wait and see. Overall, I think the game is good, but this demo is very rough and it doesn't do the game any favors. I'm still hyped for the game and I'll probably buy it on day one, but man, I wish I had more positive things to say about it. But unfortunately, the movement is janky, the combat is janky, and the exploration is pretty underwhelming. And the biggest red flag is that the game is supposed to be out in less than a month, on September 4. So unless this is a really old build, I seriously don't think any of this stuff is going to get fixed in the full game. But these are my first impressions of the game, and now I'd love to hear your thoughts about it. Have you played the demo yet? And if so, what do you think of it so far? Is this a game you're gonna pick up on day one, or would you rather wait for some reviews first? Let me know in the comments, and if you enjoyed this video, please break that like button's posture bar, and consider subscribing for more gaming impressions and reviews. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.